had no idea that this was the last normal night of my life. The plane yawed sharply left, and all four of us lurched sideways. I heard the captain say, "Mayday, mayday, mayday." The lights flickered. The airplane's nose dropped. I clawed for my belt, and that's when I saw it through the window. We are crashing into the water. Not clouds, not storm, ocean. Everything happened so fast. The pilot's voice cut through the alarms. Brace for impact. Everything was water. I was trapped inside the plane. I struggled to survive and somehow managed to find an exit. A yellow life raft bobbed beside me. I grabbed the cord, pulled, and climbed in with shaking hands. Behind me, the last of the plane slipped under, dragging a fireball with it. The shockwave rolled through the sea and hurled me into the dark. Waves smashing. Storm in the ocean. I held on until the storm took my strength. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning. The storm was gone. The world was quiet, too quiet. I was still inside the life raft, half deflated, and somehow I drifted ashore. No sound except the slow slap of the sea against the rubber. I crawled onto the beach, coughing up seawater, gasping. My entire body shook. I checked my pocket and I saw it, my pocket watch. But it is all wet and broken. Behind the beach was a jungle, green, alive. At the far end of the beach, I found my raft, torn and useless. I shouted, I marked the beach with big HELP for somebody to see. Nobody was here, just wind through trees and the crash of waves. I staggered along the shoreline, calling again and again, hoping for smoke, footprints, anything, but there was only sand, rocks, and silence. That night, I tried to sleep under a palm tree in my raft. The stars above were bright, the sound of insects constant. Then I heard something, a dull thudding from deep inside the jungle. My heart stopped. I grabbed a stick, waiting for I don't know what. The sound came again, closer this time. The noise faded, and all that remained was the echo of my own breathing. By morning, debris from the crash began washing ashore. Pieces of FedEx packages scattered across the sand. I gathered them all in a pile. I searched for food and found coconuts. I never knew how hard it is to open these things. I smashed them, smacked them. They are as hard as F. Slowly, I found a way, and now I was able to drink the coconut juice. I tried to explore the island. No one was here. A small, isolated island. So I checked for the very top. Then I found him, one of the pilots, his body washed up among the wreckage. I scavenged every little thing I could from him, and then I gave him a proper burial. I sat there for a very long time by the shore. That was the moment I realized no one was coming. Not today, not tomorrow, maybe never. Alone. Completely alone. That night I saw it, a flicker of light on the horizon. For the first time in days, hope. I jumped to my feet, waving, shouting, doing anything to be seen. But no matter how loud I screamed, the light never turned toward me. It just drifted away, swallowed by the dark. When morning came, I made up my mind. I had to reach it. I dragged the yellow life raft into the water and started paddling toward where I'd seen that light. The farther I went, the stronger the sea fought back. Waves rose higher, smashing against the raft, pulling me farther from shore. Then came the biggest one, a wall of water that lifted me into the sky and hurled me down onto sharp coral. Pain exploded through my leg. The raft tore apart. That was the day I learned what helpless truly meant. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the sky broke open. The wind screamed. The rain came sideways. I crawled back across the rocks and found shelter inside a cave. My body gave out. The last thing I remember was the sound of thunder fading into the distance before everything went black. To stay alive, I had to learn something I'd never needed before. How to make fire. I gathered dry sticks and rubbed them together until my arms shook. Nothing. Again. Smoke, then nothing. Hours passed. My body drenched in sweat, sand sticking to my skin. Frustration took over. I pressed harder, faster, until the stick snapped and tore through my hand. Blood spilled across the sand. In rage, I screamed. I threw everything. The sticks, the shells, even that volleyball from one of the FedEx boxes. It rolled away, leaving my bloody handprint across its surface. When the anger faded and silence came back, I went to pick it up. The blood had dried, forming a face. I drew it with 2 eyes, a mouth, simple but human. I stared at it for a long time before whispering, "Wilson." It was ridiculous, talking to a ball. But the moment I didn't feel completely alone anymore. I laughed at myself, then kept talking anyway. Maybe I was losing my mind, or maybe I just needed someone, anyone, to keep me sane. The next morning, I tried again to make fire. Slowly, carefully. Sparks turned to smoke, smoke turned to flame. When it finally caught, I screamed, "I have made fire!" My voice echoed through the trees. For the first time in days, I felt alive again. I sat by the fire until dawn, staring into the flames, watching shadows move like ghosts of my old life. Days turned into weeks, but one problem kept getting worse, my tooth. That old infection pulsed with every heartbeat. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I tried using the mirror from a FedEx package, but just looking at it made me sick. Finally, I took one of the ice skates I'd found. and with one last breath, slammed it into my mouth. Pain like I'd never known. The world went white, then everything disappeared. 4 years, that's what it must be. 4 years since the sky fell, and the world forgot I existed. I'm not the same man who washed up on this beach. I can throw a spear and hit a fish from 20 feet away. I can make fire in seconds, shelter in minutes. I know when the tides change and when the wind is about to turn cruel. Wilson's still with me. He sits near the cave entrance, sun-bleached and cracked, but he's the only voice that still answers. We talk about food, about rain, about nothing. Sometimes I yell at him, sometimes he's silent for days, but he's been here longer than anyone else ever was. Life here is simple, but it isn't peace. The ocean is a wall that never lets me forget there's another world beyond it. Every night I stare across that endless blue, wondering if Kelly still looks at the same stars. One morning, something different washed ashore. A sheet of plastic, light green, stiff but flexible. I dragged it up the beach, and for the first time in years, I saw possibility. A sail. I could use it as a sail. The idea consumed me. I began cutting down trees, tying logs together with rope made from coconut fiber. And I need rope. A whole lot of rope. It wasn't just wood anymore. It was hope taking shape. Would I survive this chance? We wouldn't know if we don't try. When the raft was ready, I gathered everything that had kept me alive. A few coconuts, some fish, Wilson, and one unopened FedEx box. The one with the angel wings. I didn't know why I'd kept it closed all these years. Maybe because those wings meant something. Maybe they reminded me that freedom was still possible. I looked around the island one last time. The place that had nearly killed me had also kept me alive. I whispered a quiet thank you, then pushed the raft into the surf. The first waves tried to stop me, like they always did. A big wall of wave, but the sail caught the wind, the raft lifted, and for the first time in 4 years I passed beyond the reef. Behind me the island grew smaller and smaller until it vanished. Ahead, only open sea. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time in forever, I was moving again. I looked at Wilson, sun-bleached, weathered, still staring back at me. We did it, I told him. For days, the ocean was kind. The nights were still, the stars endless. I measured time by the sun, by hunger, by the sound of the waves against wood. But peace never lasts out here. One night, the wind began to scream. The waves rose higher than the raft itself. The sky cracked open with thunder. I held onto the ropes as the sail twisted and ripped. Rain blinded me. A wall of water slammed into us. The raft nearly broke in two. I tied Wilson down and clung to the logs with everything I had. Lightning flashed, and for a moment, the sea looked alive, towering over me like it wanted to take me back. Then, silence. The storm passed as quickly as it came, leaving the ocean dark and still. The raft was half destroyed. The sail was gone. I lay there, soaked and shaking, Wilson tied beside me. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and calm water, but Wilson was gone. I saw him, just a small white dot drifting farther away. I screamed his name. Wilson! Wilson! I jumped into the water, kicking with everything I had, but the current pulled him farther. I reached out until my arms failed, salt filling my throat. I watched him float away, smaller and smaller, until he was gone. I lay on the raft and cried until I had nothing left. That ball was just leather and air, but it had been my only friend, my only voice. Now, I was truly alone again. Days later, asleep, sprays of seawater washed my face. Who could it be? Maybe another friend in the sea. I thought it was another mirage, but a big sound came next, the low hum of an engine. It was a ship. I waved the oar weakly. I couldn't say a word. The ship's horn answered. That's how they found me. 4 years, 3 months, 19 days after the crash, the ocean finally gave me back. They said I'd been dead for years. They flew me home, dressed me in new clothes, and shaved my beard. Cameras flashed. At FedEx headquarters, they welcomed me with banners and applause. Everything felt wrong. Too loud, too fast. The smell of coffee, perfume, food, it all belonged to another lifetime. On the table, there is plenty of food. And look, I found a torch. Funny, just weeks ago I could also make fire in seconds. Later that night, I went to our old house. There I met her, Kelly, but things had changed. She had a family now, a husband, a daughter. I gave her back the pocket watch she'd given me. Her picture still inside, the hand still set to Memphis time. We talked. She told me about their search. She showed me our car. She kissed me once more and whispered, "You're the love of my life." But we both knew love wasn't enough anymore. The next day, I drove the same Jeep she'd kept for me all those years. Guess who's beside me? Of course, my buddy Wilson, though he is new now. I stopped at a crossroads in Texas, the very end of the map. I had one last thing to do, return a package, the one with the angel wings. I left it at the doorstep with a note that read, "This package saved my life." As I turned to leave, a pickup truck pulled up. A woman stepped out. She told me where each road led, smiled, and drove off. I stood there, staring down at her car, and saw it, the same wings painted on her tailgate. For this time, there was no clock, no deadline, no storm, just a choice. I smiled, turned toward the horizon. The ocean took everything from me, but it also gave something back. It stripped away my world, my comfort, my control, until there was nothing left but me. And somewhere between the storms, the hunger, and the silence, I found out who that man really was. We all think we're running out of time. On that island, I stopped chasing minutes and started feeling moments. The sound of fire catching for the first time, the taste of rain after days of thirst, the face of an unexpected friend. I learned that survival isn't about strength, it's about surrender. When you lose everything, that's when you finally see what really matters. And maybe that's what life is, learning to let go, one wave at a time. If this story reached you, if it made you feel something, give this video a like, share it, and comment below the lesson you saw in it. Don't forget to subscribe, and keep watching. There's another story waiting, and you'll surely want to see how it ends.